Hey everyone, welcome back. First off, I'd like to give a huge thank you for the feedback in that last video. The overwhelmingly positive response was honestly endearing. I have plans to go forward with fully voiced content for the future, and I'm glad you've all been so supportive of me. Now, onto the video. Today I'll begin covering the various mods in Remnant, starting with the summons. I'll be going in alphabetical order, or the way they're listed in-game. As the first of the three summons from ROM, Beckon has some good attributes. It is one of the two ranged damage summons in the game. It is also able to float around, albeit kind of slowly. It fires a projectile that moves at a medium speed that does decent damage. The ability to float around allows it to easily regain view of moving targets. They are fairly squishy, although their floating makes most ground-based units unable to attack them. They can also be decent projectile blockers. Many attacks like the Unclean One's hammer and axe throws can be blocked by a skull. Combined with their cheap mod power cost, they can easily be resummoned within seconds should they be destroyed. If your target is non-stationary and out of melee range, these guys are your best option. Next up is Iron Sentinel. These little turrets are the second ROM summons and the other range damage option. They are stationary, hit scan based units. They may not deal an incredible amount of damage per bullet, but with the right build they can actually be kind of good. What they lack in mobility, they make up for with precision aiming. Their hit scan bullets consistently deal damage to targets as opposed to the slower moving projectile from Beckon. Their ability to rapidly deal damage can make attacks like Zillus's DPS check easier to pass. They do, however, cost double the amount of mod power to build up when compared to Beckon and other summon mods. When it comes to choosing Iron Sentinel over Beckon, consistency over spammability is what you'll be considering. Coming up, we have Rattle Weed. These little flowers are a distraction type summon. Their purpose is to draw aggro of nearby enemies. Against most mobs, they do their job fairly well. An issue is that on higher difficulties, they will die in only a few hits, rendering their aggro drawing fairly weak. And most of the time, bosses will ignore them in favor of the player. Sometimes though, they will have their aggro drawn by them. It's important to mention that Rattle Weed is invincible in any location with a fog wall, like a boss arena or an event room. Using this knowledge, we can make fights like Gorefist or the Root Mother event incredibly easy by using sources like the Cultist set and Soul Anchor to triple our mod duration. However, not every enemy will have their aggro drawn by the flowers. Some will manage to slip by the crowd and try to attack the player. You might also regain the aggro of enemies if you start dealing damage to those being drawn by the summon. Either way, this little mod is incredibly useful. If you want to cheese many fights full of ads, I'd recommend bringing the Cultist set and Soul Anchor to do so. Next up, we have Seedcaller. These little guys are your earliest available damage summons. They are melee units that move fairly fast. Occasionally they perform a small leap attack, but they're primarily grounded. Sometimes they may run into a boss and not attack them. I'm not sure why this happens, but it only seems to happen with certain bosses like Singe or the Ent. Their DPS is definitely better than Beckon. If you're going up against melee enemies, these guys will do pretty good against them. Next up we have Seeker. These corrosive queen beetles pack quite a punch. They are self-detonating summons that chase down a target to explode on. Their damage is very good, and with boost to mod damage they can easily deal thousands of damage per blast. If you choose to run Vulcan's Detonator, the burning down a plant from your blast will generate mod power. Because of this, you could potentially infinitely summon beetles if they manage to keep applying fire dots. In my opinion, these are the most fun summons to use. The feeling of summoning an unending army of blasting bugs is really cool. Finally, we have Very Good Boy. As the last of the summons, Good Boy gives a little bit of utility while also being the tankiest of all the options. Although in higher difficulties, that won't really matter too much. In terms of damage, they do the highest single amount out of all the summons. Combined with their speed, they can quickly hunt down most ground-based ads. Upon petting him, you'll be granted some health regen and a small damage boost to his attacks. The regen is nice, and it does scale with healing effectiveness bonuses. While not a big boost, it can definitely help in some fights to mitigate damage. He is also an account mod, so once you unlock him, all your new and old characters will get him too. It is also worth mentioning that he has a tendency to leap and bite most humanoid enemies in the weak spot. This can be helpful on Earth, where most of the basic enemies have similar hitbox structures. Now before I go, I'd like to mention Soul Ember's interactions with every single summon in the game. Soul Ember allows your summons to explode upon death or being resummoned. It also boosts the damage of summons that already explode. I created a small chart here showing what sources affect the damage of Soul Ember's explosions. Most fall into the middle category, while Seeker and Riftwalker work with pretty much everything. Unfortunately, Rattle Weed gets the short end of the stick here and gets no armor source damage bonuses whatsoever. In the top and middle rows, Vulcan's does not boost damage to Soul Ember's explosion. However, it still causes the blast to ignite enemies. So, if you wish to run Soul Ember, refer back to this chart to know how to boost its damage effectively. And that covers every single summon in Remnant. They are all unique and fun to use in their own way. I recommend trying all of them out. Let me know which one's your favorite. I'll be covering the other mods in their own videos at a later date. As you may have seen on the Remnant Discord, the Remnant from Hell mod dropped a couple days ago. I plan on making a few videos covering some of the awesome new additions and changes the mod makes. Once again, I'd like to thank you for all your support. We've reached over 500 subs now. I genuinely never thought I'd get this far making videos. Your overwhelming support has kept me going for the past year, and I thank you all for that. And with that, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again soon.